All right, welcome. Thanks for being here. And before I get started, I just want to express our condolences to Brian Breezy and his entire family over the tragic loss of his sister Ella. Certainly our thoughts and prayers are with his family, and it's tragic, and we feel so bad for him and everybody at Clemson over what happened. And there's things that happen. College football is important, but then things happen in life that make it seem a lot less important. And there's a lot of things going on in the world like that, and this is certainly one of them. So we certainly have been thinking of him and his family. Turning the page to college football. Talk about the Liberty game a little bit. It's a great win, and we were fortunate to win it. That there were a lot of positives from the win, and a lot of the positives came from negatives. We threw a pick right down the middle of the field that very easily could have been a touchdown, but all of our offensive linemen and Blake Whitehart and all these guys did such a great job of hustling to get the ball on the ground, and then we held them. We had a hitch they threw that the corner missed the tackle, and so many times you see that, and the player will score a 70-yard touchdown. And our pursuit from our linebackers and our D-line was so good that it was an 18-yard play. And there were so many instances on that film that we did something that was really, really bad football, but it didn't end up becoming a soul-crushing play or a play that cost us the game because our guys played so hard. I mean, the effort was outstanding. The execution, no. There's a lot of things we didn't do well, but our offense had an awful third quarter. But how many times you see something like that happen and then the rest of the game is bad? Yet in the fourth quarter, when we had to score and make drives, we did it. I thought the response of the offense when we needed it was great. I think Keyshawn Williams and Jamal Banks, continue to show why we view those guys like starters. We really have 5 starting receivers here, and there's a lot that gets talked about Donovan and A.T. Perry and Jamal Banks. He had a big-time game for us. And Taylor Marin is a really good football player, and Keyshawn Williams is right there with him. And so there's 5 guys that we trust throwing the ball to, and those guys made really big plays. Our defense did a great job on third down. We created 4 turnovers, and we went into that game saying that if we're going to win this game, we have to win the turnover battle. We did feel going into the game that at times Liberty was loose with the football, and that we had opportunities to punch it out, and Liberty had created 9 turnovers on the year and created 6 fumbles. And we just thought if we could win the turnover battle, that would really help us. And we won the turnover battle 4-2, and the points off the turnovers was 14-3. And then I thought Malik Mustafa just had a big-time game. He had one of the best games I've ever seen a safety have. He was all over the field and tackled everything and did a great job. Certainly on offense, the improvements, we got to be more consistent. We have to be more balanced. We did not do a good job running the football. And we got to do a better job early in games in the red zone. You get down there and we're kicking field goals, and we were 4 of 7. And again, every time we got to the red zone, we scored. But you're not going to win a lot of games, converting. We want to get at least 2/3 touchdowns down there. Defensively, we have to tackle much better. We missed, I think, 20 tackles in that game, which there's not too many times you're going to win a game if you miss 10 to 15, let alone 20. So we got to do a much better job tackling. And on special teams, we had a punt blocked, and our kickoff coverage, again, against a very good returner, but our kickoff coverage, we allowed the thing to break contain twice. So there was a lot of things to work on. When you looked at the schedule, those games 2 and 3, I didn't think that either of those would be easy. And again, we were fortunate, but credit to our players. You find a way to win a 1-point game, and they ran a 2-point play. And when the game was on the line, we were very disciplined, and we defended it. And we did a really nice job defending it. And then I thought A.J. Williams and Keyshawn Williams showed unbelievable courage on that onside kick. I mean, they had 11 guys barreling down at him at 100 miles an hour, and those two stepped up, and AJ made a big play to get us the ball. Moving on to Clemson, again, every year, this is the most talented football team we play. They're extremely talented. They're very well coached in all aspects. I like Dabo. I respect him. And I think he's done a phenomenal job there of building a program, and it's a program. They've won double-digit games for a decade. So this has been, clearly they've been the best program in the ACC. And, this is a matchup of two of the most successful programs in the ACC over the past 6 years. I think right now they have the longest Power 5 winning streak in the country. Is that accurate? And they're again a really good team. They're much improved on offense. They have 9 returning starters. I think the quarterback is playing much better. He's completing, 60% of his balls. He's taking care of it. He's only thrown 1 turnover on the year. He's a threat to extend plays and run the football. He's 6'4", 235. I thought last year's game, the play that changed it was when we had him sacked twice in the backfield, and he escaped and threw the bomb down the sidelines. At that point, it was a 3-0 game, and that play really made it 10 to zip. And you can tell he's more comfortable, and he's got a really strong arm. He's a good athlete, and again, I think he's playing. He's a much improved player. Will Shipley is probably. I haven't seen all the tailbacks in the league. I can't imagine there's anybody much better. He's one of the elite tailbacks in the country. We tried to recruit him, and he averages over 9 yards every time he touches the football. They have a good receiver group. All those guys are 6'3", 6'4", 200 pounds. They make contested catches. Bo Collins is a guy that is really an explosive playmaker for him. He only has 9 catches on the year, but 5 of them are for explosives. And they got 4 returning starters on the O-line. And a lot of those guys are all conference players. And the left tackle, McFadden, I think is one of the very, very best in the conference. On defense, they've been, the gold standard in the ACC and really the country for, the last 5, 6, 7 years. And it starts with the D-line. If a lot of those guys are going to be playing on Sundays. And really, they are so disruptive. Their havoc rake, their ability to get people off schedule, and I could get up here right now and talk about 8 of their defensive linemen. They're that good. They're that deep. Breezy is one of the best players in the conference. Miles Murphy. We got KJ Henry from West Forsyth, who's playing his best football ever. The Tyler kid for them, Tyler Davis. If he's playing, which he probably is. I mean, these guys are. You make the all-conference ACC D-line, it's probably half the players will be from Clemson. Trenton Simpson's become one of the best linebackers in the league. Clemson kind of came up with this hybrid position with Isaiah Simmons a few years ago, and it seems like every year they have a different guy that can cover, rush, play the front, play linebacker. And Trenton Simpson he's their most productive player. He doesn't miss tackles. He's extremely good in the blitz game. I mean, he can light people up, and just his effort plays, his pursuit plays. There's times that he's in the box and the ball gets thrown to the sideline, and his ability to go sideline to sideline. And, the safety, is it Mukubu? I'm afraid I'm going to mispronounce it, but he was the Defensive Rookie of the Year last year in the ACC. Andrew Mukuba, number 1. Is just he's another ball-hawking safety. He tackles everything. He's a good cover guy, great tackler, and he was the ACC Defensive Rookie of the Year, and he's an all-conference player. So, again, their defense reads like an all-star team, and this is every year. It's a great challenge. But you know what? This is we wanted to come here and build a program that we could play in games like this. So it's 2 nationally ranked teams. I believe this is the highest ranked combined matchup in history of a game at Truist Field. And it's September, so we want to play in big time games. Certainly our goal is to win them, but we know that's going to be a great challenge with the caliber of program we have coming here on Saturday. And with that, I'll open it up.
What they have defensively, how do you evaluate your run game and evaluate it with knowing that you kind of alluded to abandoning it basically against Liberty? How does that translate against them?
I mean, we're going to have some balance, right? But the nature of football is if a team's going to load up the box and dare you to throw it, you got to be able to throw it. I mean, it's unless you're a triple option team or kind of doing the things Vanderbilt did with motions that Tulane used to do. If teams are going to philosophically say we're just going to put more guys in that box than you can block, you got to be able to make. You got to be able to make big plays, and that doesn't mean that you can't sneak some runs in there. But sometimes, like I said the other day, 3 or 4 yards is a good run. And we can't get in the habit at running back of trying to think every single run is going to be a 15 or 20 yard run. Sometimes you just, it's crowded, and if there's a seam, you got to hit it north and south, and let's be 2nd and 7. But the amount of times the other game that we were 2nd and 12, 2nd and 15, that cost us on about half our drives. I think we had around 14 drives, and we scored on 7 of them, and the other 7, we either had a penalty or a TFL. And when you get off schedule against good defenses and teams that can rush the passer, that's not a recipe for success.
After the game, Sam gave himself a D grade for his performance and said when he watched the game film it probably wouldn't change. He said the tapes don't lie. Now that you've seen the game film, how do you assess his performance?
I mean, it wasn't his best game, but he was the winning quarterback. The quarterback's job is to help your team win the game. And when we were behind in the 4th quarter, he threw an absolute perfect ball to Keyshawn Williams. He hit Jamal Banks for a touchdown in the back corner of the end zone. He made some really big throws at the end of the game that won us the game. So can he play better? Yeah. But he was the winning quarterback. And I've been doing this a lot of years, and I told the team, after the game in the locker room, it felt like a loss. And I told those guys Sunday, we won the game. Yeah, we didn't play well, but winning's hard. And Liberty had good players. And we're not going to walk around here with our head down all depressed after we win. Let's fix the mistakes. We know what we didn't do well, but we won. And I told Sam the same thing. You were the winning quarterback. Okay? Smile, let's fix it, and let's move on. We're not going to hang our heads and be all depressed after we find a way to win a game. It's too hard. And if you start doing that, it stops being fun. Yeah, we have high standards. We didn't play up to our standard, but we still found a way to win the game. And again, I've certainly had seasons in my career that I would have loved to play ugly and won. So I told the team, the other day that when I was at Villanova in 1997, we had all these pros and 1 AA, and we scored 40 whatever points a game. We're undefeated, one in the country, and there's games we scored 42 points, and I'd come in all upset that we didn't score 56 or 63, then go 2 years later to Fordham, right? We're 0-11. I said, I dream of the day we can play poorly and win. My dreams came true. We played poorly and we won, so I think that's the sign of a good team. Let's build off it, learn from it, and try not to repeat the mistakes.
So you almost had to kind of give them confidence even after the win.
Yeah, they were down. They have a high standard, and you could tell guys were walking around here Sunday like we lost. I'm like, we won the game. We had a 4th quarter comeback. You guys didn't believe me. I told you Liberty was good. Not you guys, not the press, the players. So their last 4 ACC games, they were 2-2, and their 2 losses were by 1 point and 3 points. We just won by a point against a team that's been very competitive against Power 5 teams, and 2 years ago won 10 games, and has a receiver that could play anywhere. And I went all through that after the game. It was like, guys, we're not going to win games here and be depressed. It's not going to happen. Enjoy the wins. They're hard. It's hard to win. And I just, I've created that atmosphere before as a head coach, is that you get used to winning, and then you expect it to be easy. And the other teams have coaches and scholarships, and they have talent too. And Hugh Freeze is a good football coach, and they had a good plan. They really did. They had a good plan on offense and defense. Yeah, he had an injury, and he'll probably be out for at least a couple weeks, if not longer. So he had, it was an upper body injury, and I'm always not exactly sure what I'm allowed to share or not share. So I'll be more general than specific, but he's going to be out for at least a couple of weeks.
What makes Rondell so good?
I would say Rondell. First of all, he's tough. He can feel leverage as well as any of the defensive ends we've had here. He just has a knack for feeling what type of block is on him, whether it's a zone block, a down block, a pass block. And he's not only is he a good pass rusher, but he's a really good run defender as well. So we've had really elite pass rushers like Duke Ejiofor, and I'd say Rondell, it's a little bit like Blake Whiteheart. I think, we've had really good receiving tight ends, really good blocking tight ends. Blake might be as good as any of the combination of both. I feel the same way about Rondell as a defensive end, that we've had great, run-stopping guys in there. We've had elite pass rushers. In terms of the combination of doing both, he's one of the best that we've had.
He played tight end in high school. He thinks he has the best hand.
He thinks he's the best basketball player. He thinks he's the best receiver, the best tight end. Yeah, there's you come into a room and you're worried that guys need confidence. I've never ever had to try to pump Rondell up, getting him to believe he's a good player.
He must be on the Haynes team.
I'm sure he does. I told him we'll bring him back. If he comes back next year, we'll put him on the hands team depth.
Speaking of good basketball players, Jamal stepping up with 2 touchdowns, did it feel like he had to be patient the last year or so? Because he looked great last fall camp, and then it wasn't anything I don't think he did. It was just the guys in front of him were healthy and playing well. So him able to finally break out with that kind of performance, did that take a lot of patience?
I think a lot of our receivers had to be patient. But I would say about Jamal that when you guys would watch practice, he was always one of those guys that would flash, right? He would make the plays, but a lot of times in between those plays, the things that don't flash, he wasn't always doing well. And so for him, I think it was being more consistent. And then it's one thing to know the offense, and it's another thing to be able to apply it every week against the defense. And Jamal's a really smart, very hard-working player that it's starting to click. And it clicks for different players at different times. Some guys, they get it right away. Ryan Smenda came in here and just got it. For other guys, Javionte Nash didn't start until his 4th or 5th year here. And he's one of the best offensive tackles we've had. So it happens at different times for different people. There was no doubt in our mind it was going to happen for Jamal. It was just a matter of when. And everyone again talks about AT and Donovan, but I've said from the beginning we have 3 starters. His camp performance was so consistent that we really said he's going to rotate equally with those guys because he deserves it. The other thing Jamal is he's a really good special teams player. He's one of the most conscientious young men that we have in our program.
Dave, how important is this specific game? I know it's a one-week season, and they all add up the same. How important is it for you as a program to show that you belong on the same game with the Clemsons of the college football world?
I mean, Les, they're all big games, right? I mean, if you don't beat VMI, you lose to an FCS, and then the whole world's writing about how your program stinks. And then you go to Vanderbilt, and if you don't win that game, well, hey, you can't match up against the SEC. And then Liberty comes to town, and hey, you're looking ahead, right? There's a different storyline for every game. Yeah, it's a really big game because they're in the Atlantic Division of the ACC. And Clemson in our conference for the greater part of the last 6, 7, 8 years has represented excellence and the gold standard. And we, it's a game that we haven't played well. And there's different reasons for it, but the bottom line is we haven't played well against them. So I just want to go out Saturday, and I want our team to play at the level that we're capable of. That's what I want us to do. Let's play at the level we're capable of. Let's control the things we can control. We know they're talented and they're gifted and they're well coached, but I think we have good players too. And if you're a good player and you're a competitor, you look forward to these games. So I think it's really cool that Wake Forest University at Truist Field is hosting a game of this magnitude that has national, it's a national game. And obviously you want to get in these games, which has taken a lot of work to do that. And then once you're in them, you want to try to find a way to win them.
In your time here, is this a team, because it's been so long since Wake has beaten Clemson, obviously not all of it under you, but is this a team that matches up with Clemson the best during your tenure?
I mean, I think this is one of the better teams we've had. So again, you control the controllables, and in terms of what we control, this is one of our better teams. But we couldn't beat Florida State for 5 years, and we couldn't beat NC State for 4 years. And when we first got here, there was a lot of these storylines. Well, geez, coach, you could go through half the ACC and we had not beaten them. And obviously in the Atlantic Division, this is the one we haven't got yet. But there's a lot of teams that haven't got them because they haven't lost a lot of games.
Coach, you talked a lot about eliminating the big plays on defense. And against Liberty, the D certainly allowed some of those bigger plays that were getting them in the lead. How much have you been emphasizing that this week?
Well, it's missed tackles. We missed a tackle. We were playing, good defense up until the third quarter. At that point, they had 2 field goals and a safety. And then, we brought a zero blitz and we missed the tackle. And if you bring a zero blitz and miss a tackle, it's probably going to be a touchdown. And then they ran a split zone that we misfitted and we missed 2 tackles. And then the one long touchdown, we had a guy in man coverage that slipped and fell. And so those right there are 21 points. So we can't give up big plays. All those plays happen for, individually different reasons. But it really comes down to, if you miss tackles against good skilled players, if we miss a tackle on Shipley, there's a very good chance it'll end up being an explosive play.
And speaking on Shipley, just having that experience last year, having a very, very good football team going into Clemson and seeing, DJ and Will last year, how important is that now to have that scouting to see again this year?
Sometimes you go into a week and you got to try to convince your players that the opponent is good. We don't have to work on that this week. They know that. They saw the film and they played in the game. And the one time last year, I think it was Rondell and Miles Fox both had DJ wrapped up and he escaped, and our corners kind of thought he was sacked and stopped covering, and he pops out of it and throws a 50-yard play down the sideline. And he ran the ball really well against us last year. I thought Clemson last year on offense played really well against us.
Dave, you mentioned the league early in the press conference, but it's fun to watch him tackle. That closing speed, you can't teach that. Talk a little about what
He's a good player and he's getting better. He's a riser. Football is really important to him. He works hard at his craft. He's instinctive. He plays with courage. The tackle that he made on the quarterback that led to the fumble, I showed the players 4 games, and again, I got a sense that they were a little bit down. And I just said, these 4 plays started with the fumble that Malik caused and Ryan scooped up. And then, we get the ball back and it's tied, and we hit Keyshawn down the middle and he makes a contested catch over a linebacker before a safety. We then stop the 2-point play and we get the onside kick. So we can be upset, but the bottom line is the guys in this room made these 4 plays. If we don't make any one of these 4, we don't win that football game, and the first of those 4 was that tackle by Malik, and it was just chest to chest, punching the ball. It was a clinic on how to tackle. And he's had a number of those tackles, and his closing speed, the same way that I talk of Trenton Simpson, I'm sure when people watch Malik on film, they would say the same thing, that his closing speed, his ability to get sideline to sideline, it's special.